In the dead of winter, on a city street lit only by flickering lamps and office windows, a weary janitor named Leo trudges through another long night. His coat is thin, his wallet thinner, but his heart full. When he finds a shivering woman curled near a dumpster behind the building he cleans, he doesn't hesitate. He hands over the only food he has, a modest sandwich wrapped in foil. She says her name is Anna. He doesn't know she's hiding a billion-dollar secret. What starts as an act of kindness unravels into a tale of fate, identity, and second chances. Anna isn't just a down-on-her-luck stranger. She's Anastasia Quinn, a brilliant tech mogul who vanished from headlines after betrayal tore her empire apart. Now, in hiding, she finds unexpected solace in the honesty of a man who has nothing except integrity. As trust builds and truths surface, Leo's humble world collides with the Anna's hidden one, igniting a story of redemption, quiet heroism, and the kind of wealth that can't be measured in dollars. This isn't just about a sandwich, it's about a lifeline. And sometimes the poorest man in the alley holds the key to a billionaire's salvation. The city never really slept, but it sure knew how to forget. Its streets bustled by day, pulsing with ambition and caffeine. But by night, when the suits and heels retreated into penthouses and condos, the city revealed its second face. Quieter, lonelier, and far colder. That's when Leo showed up. Leo Santiago, 43, mop wielder, trash hauler, and unofficial caretaker of Tower 1's 20 floors of polished lies. He pushed his ancient cleaning cart through the lobby doors just after midnight, greeted by the faint echo of jazz from a locked radio booth and the scent of lemon disinfectant. His shoulders slumped beneath a battered navy jacket 2 winters too old, and his boots left wet tracks from the snowstorm still raging outside. Leo worked nights because the money was better, or at least less terrible. He also liked the quiet. No corporate barkers breathing down his neck, no fake smiles or sideways glances. Just him, his mop, and the hum of fluorescent lights. Still, tonight felt heavier than usual. Maybe it was the wind slicing through the cracks of the revolving door, or maybe it was the pink eviction notice folded twice and stuffed deep in his back pocket. He paused by the janitor's closet and opened his battered metal lunchbox. Inside, a peanut butter sandwich, 2 boiled eggs, and a bottle of tap water. No frills, no flair, just enough to get through the night. He almost smiled at the absurdity of calling it lunch. Midnight felt more like an echo than a mealtime. By the time he reached the 10th floor, Leo had fallen into rhythm. Mop, rinse, sweep, repeat. The office was an open-plan maze of pristine desks and silent monitors. Corporate posters hung on the walls with words like innovation, integrity, and excellence, all printed in fonts that tried too hard. He emptied trash cans and picked up the ghosts of productivity, coffee cups, energy drink cans, half-eaten protein bars. As he bent to pick up a dropped pen, a flicker of movement caught his eye through the corner window. Someone was huddled by the dumpster below. Not unusual in this part of the city. Winter always brought out the desperation. Still, something about the figure made him pause. She was curled up tight, back against the brick wall, arms wrapped around her knees, trying to disappear into herself. Her coat looked threadbare, her posture brittle. Leo frowned. He remembered the sandwich. 15 minutes later, he stepped out the back service door, bracing against the wind as it slapped his face red. The cold was merciless tonight, the kind that gnawed through gloves and made you question your will to keep walking. He approached slowly, not wanting to scare her. "Hey," he said softly. The woman flinched and looked up. Her face was pale, lips trembling, but her eyes, those eyes, were sharp, alert, watchful, not quite like someone lost, more like someone hiding. "I'm not going to hurt you," Leo said, holding up both hands like a peace offering. I got a sandwich." He unwrapped it and held it out to her. She stared at it as if it were a diamond. A moment passed before she reached for it, her fingers shaking as she took it with surprising gentleness. "Why?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. Leo shrugged. "Figured you needed it more than me." She hesitated. "You don't even know me." He smiled faintly. "Don't have to." She stared at him for a long time, then took a small bite, her body relaxing by inches. The wind howled, but for a moment a quiet calm settled between them. "What's your name?" he asked. "Anna?" "Leo," he said, offering a nod. Anna nodded back, her expression unreadable. "Thank you, Leo." He didn't reply. He simply stood there for another second, unsure what else to do. Then he turned and walked back into the building, letting the heavy service door close behind him with a dull thud. As he climbed the stairs back to the 10th floor, he wondered why he felt lighter all of a sudden. He didn't know that the woman he'd just fed had once made more in a day than he would in a lifetime. He didn't know she was on the run, that she had enemies in places he'd never even seen. All he knew was that someone was cold and hungry and alone, and for one night, that was enough. And far above them both, behind tinted glass and shuttered boardrooms, destiny began to stir. The snow didn't stop falling. By the time Leo's shift ended at 5 a.m., the streets had turned into rivers of slush and ice. Tower 1 stood like a steel sentinel against the gray sky, indifferent to the people who worked or survived in its shadow. Leo clocked out and stepped outside, rubbing warmth into his hands as he glanced instinctively toward the alley. She was still there. Anna hadn't moved much. She was curled against the dumpster as if it offered shelter, but the city's cold had no mercy. Her sandwich wrapper sat folded neatly beside her, as though she didn't want to litter. Leo stood a few steps away, unsure whether to approach. She noticed him first this time. "Morning," she said quietly. "Still here, huh? Where else would I go?" Leo thought about that. The shelters were either full or dangerous. He knew stories, people getting robbed or worse in overcrowded rooms under flickering lights. It wasn't always a safe place for women, not alone. "I brought something," he said, fumbling with the plastic bag he'd carried from home. Inside were 2 fresh sandwiches, egg and cheese, no meat. He remembered she didn't touch the ham yesterday, and a thermos of warm tea. Anna looked at it like he'd brought her gold. "Why are you doing this?" she asked again. Leo didn't answer immediately. He lowered himself to sit on the curb, ignoring the wet that seeped through his pants. "Because I know what it feels like," he finally said. "To be ignored, to be looked at like you're invisible." Anna looked at him then, really looked. His coat had holes, his fingers were cracked and raw, and his eyes carried something between exhaustion and quiet defiance. He wasn't a man trying to be a hero. He was just a man who refused to stop being human. "I can't pay you back," she murmured. Leo shook his head, not asking. They sat in silence, sipping tea from the thermos cap. Cars passed, but none slowed. The world moved on, as it always did. "You can come inside," Leo said suddenly. "There's a boiler room that's warm, just until the snow stops." Anna stiffened. "No, I can't risk that. Cameras, people. I'm safer here." Leo frowned. "Safer? Safer than where it's warm?" She didn't answer. That was the first time Leo suspected there was more to Anna's story than she let on. She wasn't just a homeless woman hiding from the cold. She was hiding from something bigger, but he didn't ask. Not yet. The third night came with freezing rain. Leo wrapped an old scarf around his neck, carrying another thermos and a wool blanket from his hallway closet, the one his mother crocheted years ago before dementia took her smile. When he reached the alley, Anna was pacing. She looked different, nervous, alert, like an animal too long on the run. When she saw Leo, she immediately stopped, tension loosening just slightly. "You came back," she said, a bit surprised. "I said I would." She reached for the blanket without a word and wrapped it tightly around her shoulders. Leo handed her the tea and gestured to the stoop. They sat in silence again. It was starting to become routine. "Do you have a family?" she asked suddenly. Leo paused. "Had one. Parents are gone. Wife left after the second layoff. Said she couldn't raise 2 kids and a dreamer. My son's with her. I send what I can." Anna winced. "I'm sorry." "It's all right. He's in a better place." She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "You know, I used to work in a building like this." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Doing what?" "Tech consultant," she lied. "Project oversight, mostly strategy." He nodded slowly. "That's why you sound like a CEO when you talk." Anna smiled faintly, but her eyes gave something away, something hollow, as if her words scraped over memories too painful to fully speak aloud. "You talk like someone who used to be important," Leo said gently. She looked down at her hands. "Maybe I was. Doesn't matter anymore." "I think it does." Anna looked at him then, surprised again, not by his words, but by how sincere they were. "You can call me Anna," she said finally. "It's not my real name, but it's the one I want to be right now." Leo respected that. He didn't press. Sometimes people needed to become someone new before they could go back to being who they really were. Anna hadn't slept in days. Every sound outside jolted her awake. Sirens, distant voices, even the wind rustling through broken signs. But Leo's nightly visits had become her tether. For the first time in weeks, she felt something close to safety, or at least consistency. She remembered the first time she stepped into a boardroom, barely 25, blazing through algorithms and acquisitions like a prodigy. Anastasia Quinn, co-founder, CEO, billion-dollar valuation before her 30th birthday. She'd flown private, dined with presidents, and had her name splashed across tech magazines. But none of it mattered now. Her own CTO, her childhood friend, had backstabbed her, framed her for financial mismanagement. The press shredded her, and the board didn't hesitate to force her out. In a matter of weeks, her accounts were frozen, her identity stripped, and when she tried to disappear, someone tried to find her, not to help, but to finish the job. Leo didn't know any of that, yet he was the first person in months who treated her like a human being instead of a problem, a liability, or a headline. That night, Anna stayed a little longer. She asked Leo about his favorite music. He told her he liked old Motown, the kind you could mop floors to. She laughed, genuinely laughed, for the first time in a long while. "You know," she said, "I once owned a record label for about 10 minutes. "Yeah," Leo grinned. "Let me guess. Platinum Dreams, then the IRS showed up?" "No," she chuckled. "Turns out my head of A&R thought mixtapes were legal tender." They laughed together, and for one fleeting moment, the alley behind Tower 1 felt less like a dead end and more like the beginning of something. Neither of them knew it yet, but the story was just starting to turn. The days grew colder, and so did the city. But inside that narrow alley behind Tower 1, something unexpected began to bloom, a ritual, fragile but persistent. Every night, Leo came bearing food and conversation. Every night, Anna waited. They began to speak more freely, more like old friends than two strangers from opposite worlds. One night, Leo handed her not just one sandwich, but two. "In case you're hungry later," he said. "Also, I ran into a deal on rye bread. Thought I'd try and class things up." Anna smirked. "Rye bread, very Gatsby of you." Leo chuckled, brushing snow off the curb before sitting beside her. "Yeah, next week I might even spring for mustard." They ate quietly under the muted hum of a street lamp. Despite the cold, it felt warmer than some five-star restaurants Anna remembered. There was no wine, no linen tablecloth, only honesty. "Do you ever dream about doing something else?" Anna asked suddenly. Leo stared out at the street. "Used to. Wanted to open a small repair shop. Fix things with my hands. Radios, watches, appliances. My old man taught me before cancer took him." "Why didn't you?" "Bills, life, kid needed shoes more than I needed dreams." Anna looked down, fingers tightening around the sandwich. "I know what that's like." Leo turned to her, studying her for a moment. "You don't talk much about where you're from." She hesitated. "Because it doesn't matter anymore. Whoever I was, she's gone." "I don't believe that." "Why?" "Because people don't just vanish. They change, sure, but the good parts, those don't go away. They just get buried under hurt." She stared at him, caught off guard by how precisely he'd read her. That night, she made a decision. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small, worn notebook. On the inside cover, in faded ink, was a drawing of a phoenix, wings outstretched, rising from ashes. She handed it to Leo. "What's this?" "Call it a pact," she said. "A sandwich for a secret." Leo flipped through the pages. It wasn't just scribbles, it was strategy, brand diagrams, tech interfaces, flow charts. Leo didn't understand most of it, but one thing was clear. She was no ordinary woman on the street. You built something." Anna looked away. "I did, and someone tore it from me." Leo exhaled slowly. "What now?" She met his eyes. "Now, I either stay buried or I rise again." And so, under flickering lights and falling snow, the pact was sealed, not with handshakes or contracts, but with trust. And sandwiches. The building buzzed with fluorescent monotony, but Leo moved through it like a ghost, quiet and focused. He was on autopilot until around 3:00 a.m., when something interrupted his routine. It started with laughter, not the kind that warmed rooms. This laughter was cold, sharp, mocking. He rounded the corner to the service dock and froze. A security guard, new on the shift, was standing in the alley, phone raised. Anna was trying to shield her face, but the guard kept goading her. "Hey, lady, what's your name? Why so shy, huh? Got a warrant out or something?" Leo stepped forward, voice low but firm. "Back off." The guard turned, sneering. "Relax, mop boy, just having fun. She's not hurting anyone. She's trespassing. I invited her, she's with me." The guard's smirk dropped. "You serious?" "Dead." Within hours, Leo was called into a tense meeting with the building manager. Words like unprofessional conduct, unauthorized presence, and code violation were thrown around like accusations in a courtroom. "You jeopardize tenant safety," the manager barked. "You bring someone into our alley. What's next? Inside the building." Leo stayed quiet. It wasn't worth fighting. He left the office with a written warning and a sinking feeling in his stomach. That night, Anna didn't show up. The alley was empty, the blanket was gone. So was the notebook. Leo stood there in the cold, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Alone. 3 days passed. No sign of Anna. Leo still brought sandwiches, still left the thermos by the dumpster, still checked the alley on every break, but it was always empty. The 4th night brought freezing rain again, just like the night they'd first shared tea. He nearly gave up. But then on the 5th night he heard a noise behind the maintenance shed, faint, like someone breathing too fast. He followed the sound and found her curled into herself, bruised and soaked. She looked up at him, eyes wide with fear. "Leo." "What happened?" "Someone followed me. I think they knew." "Knew what?" "Who I am." He didn't ask how. He didn't need to. Her face had probably slipped in front of the wrong camera, or maybe someone from her past had spotted her. Either way, danger had arrived. "Come on," he said, gently helping her up. "We can't stay out here." Anna winced with every step, soaked to the bone. She leaned into him, and together they slipped through the service entrance, past the cameras he knew how to avoid. He took her to the basement, a boiler room, small, dusty, but warm. He handed her a towel and pulled out an emergency kit. Gauze, ibuprofen, a blanket. "You'll be safe here tonight," he said. "I'll cover the cameras, just don't make noise." She sat down slowly, eyes wide. "Why are you risking your job for me?" Leo knelt in front of her. "Because if I don't help you now, I won't be able to look at myself in the mirror tomorrow." She blinked fast. "You don't even know who I really am." He smiled gently. "You're Anna. That's enough for me." For the first time, Anna began to cry. Not the tears of weakness, but the kind that came from finally being seen. Leo stepped outside the boiler room, guarding the door like a soldier on watch. He'd lost sleep before. He could afford to lose a little more if it meant protecting someone worth saving. Anna didn't sleep that night. She sat huddled in the corner of the boiler room, wrapped in a blanket too thin for her bruised ribs, but thick enough to absorb the worst of the pain. Her breath came in quiet, stifled puffs. Somewhere above, vents hummed and pipes clanged with age. But down here, it was warm and, for now, safe. Leo returned a little after 4 a.m., eyes sunken from another night of cleaning on autopilot. He set down a paper bag and gently slid over a new thermos. "Soup," he said. "Not great, but warm." She accepted it without a word. He sat across from her, leaning against the cinder block wall. Neither spoke for a while. Then, finally, Anna whispered, "I can't run forever." Leo looked at her carefully. "You don't have to." "I do," she said. "If they find me, it won't just be handcuffs. It'll be headlines, lawsuits, maybe worse." He didn't ask who they were, not yet. She set down the soup, took a breath, and looked him square in the eyes. "My name isn't Anna." Leo didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. He waited. "My real name is Anastasia Quinn." There it was, the truth. The name he'd seen once or twice on a news ticker months ago, the missing tech mogul who vanished after a scandal shook her billion-dollar empire. "I was CEO of Virion Technologies," she continued. "I built it from scratch. AI security infrastructure, private cloud systems, enterprise-level platforms. We scaled fast, too fast. I trusted the wrong people." Leo remained still. "My CEO, my best friend, colluded with the board. They locked me out of the company, accused me of fraud, wiped my name from every document. I had no time to fight. My bank accounts were frozen. my face plastered across gossip blogs like I was a criminal. She looked down. So I ran, not because I was guilty, but because I didn't know how to survive in a world where I had no identity. Leo took a long breath. Why tell me? Because you deserve to know. You gave me your lunch when you barely had anything. You brought me tea, shelter, and safety. You see me, not just what I've lost. He nodded. You're right. Anna's voice cracked. Are you scared now? No, he said. I'm angry. Angry? Yeah, that someone tried to destroy you because they couldn't control you. I've seen it before in smaller ways. Good people get stepped on because they don't play dirty. Anna swallowed hard. I don't have much left, just a backup wallet key, some crypto in cold storage, enough to start over if I can unlock it. But I need access, real access, a secure terminal in a building protected from tracking. Leo leaned forward. You're in a corporate tower with half a dozen empty offices and a janitor who knows every unlocked panel. I think we can make something happen. Anna blinked. You'd help me? He gave her a quiet smile. Already have. Leo had never broken the rules in his life. But then again, he'd never had a billionaire in hiding sleeping in the basement either. The plan was simple. Get Anna into the vacant analytics office on the 14th floor. The IT terminal there had a hardwired connection. No wireless, no tracking. It was outdated but secure, perfect for what she needed. The risk? Everything. If they were caught, Leo would lose his job, his health insurance, maybe even face charges. But every time he looked at Anna, no, Anastasia, he remembered what it meant to stand up for someone when no one else would. They moved just after 2 a.m. Leo led her through the freight elevator, bypassed 2 security cameras he knew were blind on Wednesdays due to scheduled maintenance, and swiped a backup keycard he'd borrowed from a locker 2 nights earlier. Inside the analytics room, Anna worked fast. She pulled a small hardware key from her jacket, a biometric encrypted device, fingerprint protected. With trembling fingers, she plugged it into the terminal and began the decryption. Leo stood watch by the door. Every second felt like a heartbeat louder than the last. After 20 long minutes, Anna gasped. Got it, she whispered. It's still here. What is? My escape, my clean wallet, 23 million, untouched. Leo whistled. You weren't kidding. She opened a second interface and transferred a portion, 7 figures, directly to an international legal team she'd hired months ago but lost contact with. Then she rerouted another portion to 3 trusted non-profits she'd helped fund before everything fell apart. I'm not taking it all, she said. Just what I need to rebuild and fight back. Leo gave a slow nod. So what now? Anna smiled. Now I go public, but on my terms. They snuck back down just before dawn, the city still asleep. But soon it would wake, and so would her name. By the following week, the headlines exploded. Anastasia Quinn speaks, my disappearance, my betrayal, my return. The media swarm was immediate, but Anna was ready. With her legal team now funded and aggressive, she filed suits against her former board, publicized her side of the story, and revealed the financial manipulations that had ousted her. The real shocker wasn't her return. It was how she told the story. Not on a press tour, not in a primetime interview, but in a documentary-style web release titled The Janitor Who Fed Me. She told the world how a struggling man with nothing to gain gave her humanity when she had none left. How he didn't know who she was and still treated her like someone worth saving. Leo watched it from his modest apartment, jaw slack. His face was blurred, his name changed at her request, but the story was unmistakably his. The next day, Anna arrived at Tower 1 in a black SUV, stepping out in a coat not of wealth, but of power. Clean, confident, reclaimed. She walked right past the security desk and found Leo on the third floor, pushing his mop like it was any other night. "You're really back," he said. She grinned. "Told you I'd rise." "And now?" "Now I'm building something new," she said, "and I want you to be part of it." He stared at her, stunned. "Doing what?" "Running operations, helping hire good people, building safe spaces, whatever you want." Leo swallowed hard. "I don't know if I'm qualified." "You're overqualified," she said. "You're the reason I'm still standing." And with that, the janitor who once gave away his last sandwich took the first step into a brand new life. Anastasia Quinn was everywhere. Her return had gone viral. Trending hashtags, news panels, exposés. But unlike before, she controlled the narrative. She didn't return with vengeance. She returned with purpose. The documentary, The Janitor Who Fed Me, had struck a chord with millions. It wasn't just the tale of a fallen billionaire. It was a human story, one about kindness when no one was watching, about how a simple act could shift the trajectory of a life. Leo became a silent symbol in that story. His name stayed hidden as promised, but his actions resonated loudly. "Be a Leo" became a phrase whispered in classrooms, quoted in boardrooms. He was the anonymous hero who asked for nothing and gave everything. Meanwhile, the lawsuits mounted against Anna's former board. Evidence of financial misconduct, insider manipulation, and wire fraud came to light. Her former CTO, the one she had trusted like a brother, suddenly found himself cornered by both public outrage and federal scrutiny. But Anna didn't gloat. Instead, she turned her focus to something new. The Ember Foundation, a startup incubator and social impact hub designed to fund, house, and mentor individuals with raw talent but no resources. Its headquarters? A renovated warehouse downtown with exposed brick walls and an old neon sign that read, "Rise Again." Leo stood in the lobby on opening day, staring at the massive mural commissioned just for the space. It depicted a faceless janitor handing a sandwich to a shivering woman. Above them, in gold paint, "Kindness is a currency with infinite return." He didn't know what to say. Anna approached him quietly. "You like it?" Leo turned to her. "It's beautiful, but I'm no saint, Anna. I didn't plan any of this. I was just being decent." "That's why it matters," she said. "You didn't do it for attention. You didn't know who I was. That's the point." He gave a shy smile. "Still feels weird being part of something so big." "You're not part of it," she said. "You're the beginning of it." Weeks turned into months. The Ember Foundation thrived. Leo, once just a janitor, now served as head of operations. He oversaw team logistics, coordinated mentorship programs, and designed community outreach with meticulous care. The same discipline he once brought to spotless floors now went into changing lives. He took to it naturally. He hired ex-cons looking for a second chance, women escaping domestic violence, immigrant kids with dreams of coding, designing, building. He gave them structure, belief, and most importantly, dignity. Anna often watched from afar with quiet admiration. The man who once offered her a sandwich now carried an entire movement on his back. One afternoon during a board meeting, an investor leaned in and asked her, "Is he your charity case?" Anna shook her head. "No, he's my compass." Later that week, Leo approached her office with hesitation. "Got a minute?" he asked. "For you?" "Always." He stepped in, holding a folder. Inside were sketches for a community shelter, a side project he'd quietly been working on with local architects and volunteers. "I've been thinking," he said. "We've helped a lot of startups, but some people don't need a business. They need a place to sleep, a safe space to breathe. This could be that." Anna leafed through the plans, moved by his vision. "You want funding?" she asked. He shook his head. "I want partnership." She smiled. "Done." And just like that, the next spark of kindness was born. The winter came again, just like before. Snow fell softly across the city, blanketing the streets in silence. The air was sharp, the wind crisp. But in a small neighborhood on the city's east side, warmth bloomed inside a building with red bricks and a glowing sign that read, "Leo's Haven." Inside, volunteers moved between cots, passing out blankets and hot meals. A mural on the far wall depicted a rising sun. Behind it, faint outlines of a janitor's mop and a notebook with a phoenix. Leo stood near the doorway, wearing a clean flannel shirt, sleeves rolled, clipboard in hand. He wasn't rich, he wasn't famous, but he was fulfilled. He stepped outside for air. Across the street, a man sat hunched on a bench, shivering beneath a torn coat. He looked young, maybe 20, with hollow eyes and cracked lips. Leo crossed without hesitation. "Hey," he said, pulling a sandwich from his coat pocket. "It's not much, but it's warm." The young man looked at him, stunned, as he accepted the sandwich with both hands. "Why?" he asked. Leo smiled, thinking back to a dumpster, a thermos, a name that wasn't real but became everything. "Because someone did it for me." He helped the man up and guided him toward the door of Leo's Haven, the light spilling warmly onto the snowy sidewalk. Inside, the cycle began again. No headlines, no cameras, just humanity passing itself forward one act at a time.